Tell us your name.
Jaydan Jackson.
Man, you tough, man. I'm a little concerned.
Nah,
Where you from?
got it. You got it. I'm from Georgia. Eagles Land.
Did you play basketball somewhere?
Yeah, Eagles Land High School. Class 2020.
You ain't go play college ball?
Nah, I'm going this way.
You gonna be a freshman?
I'm gonna be a freshman out there this year.
All right, now if I lose, I cash you up for $5.
All right.
If you win, I can share a message with you.
All right, bet.
All right, deal? All right.
Yeah.
All right. On what everybody else thinks, you want to compare yourself based on what he thinks. So I'm gonna give you the good person test, and I'm not judging you, man. But
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I promise you.
Okay. So, how many lies have you told in your life?
More than I can probably tell
I can't keep on mine either. What do you call somebody that tell a whole bunch of lies?
you. Liar.
Have you stolen something, even if it's small? Cheater.
Most
Okay.
I have stolen before.
All right. What do you call somebody that steals?
Thief.
All right. Do you know how? You know what adultery is? All right. This is what Jesus said about adultery. He says, "You have heard it was said that you should not commit adultery." But then he raises a standard. He says, if anyone looks at a woman to lust, they commit adultery in their heart. Man, have you ever had sex out of marriage, looked at pornography, watched a girl walk across the street, have lustful thoughts?
Most definitely.
All right. So we cousins, man. So you're guilty. Have you ever been angry with somebody, you almost felt like you can hurt them?
Most definitely.
You know what the Bible equates that with?
What, murder?
Yeah, man. He says if it starts in your heart, you're guilty.
Most definitely.
What letter is in the word sin? In the middle of the word sin. What letter is in the middle of the word sin? So, a good definition of sin is I know what God said to do, but I'm going to do do my own thing. You have any idea what commandment we break when we do that one?
Which one?
You should not have any other gods before me.
Most definitely.
So what people do is they put themselves before God because this is God's standard, and we elevate ourselves above God's standard. That's idolatry. So how many sins are you guilty of so far?
Almost everyone. But one thing I will say is
Yep.
it goes back to the flesh part. This world here,
Yep.
I feel like the whole heaven and hell thing, I
Yep.
feel like the way it's depicted and described
Sure.
is wrong. Not as far as hell. I feel like hell isn't a place to where, even though in the Bible it says that once you go to hell, you can't leave hell, you can't
Right.
get away.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not true because if I truly and honestly have a forgiving God who's understandable,
Sure.
and if you go to church, they always tell you it's never too late.
Yeah.
You always have a second chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I feel like that's why. And
So-
also, I do feel like
Yep.
hell is more of a.
Gotcha.
Most people think of hell as the burning place where you go and never
Yep.
come back and all that. But
Yep.
then I only say it because I recently watched the movie.
Okay.
And well, it's a show, and anything they put on the show is, somebody had to think of it.
Yep.
When God sent him down there, he sent him down there to rehabilitate everybody, to
So
pull
what-
them in and show them. Because they say when you're in hell, it's a constant loop.
I'm gonna sit.
But
So it is possible based on what you believe to get out of hell.
Most definitely.
Okay.
Because I feel like they put you through so much guilt and everything that.
All right. I see your view. You got a very interesting view, right? But I want you to compare your views, not necessarily with the movie. I really want to spend some time at some point with you, man, just showing you what the Bible says. Because if we don't have any foundational truths where we can kind of anchor ourselves on, we're subject to the belief system of what they say on the radio or what they say on this movie or what they say on social media. And so sometimes we can have a tendency to create our belief system based on what makes us feel comfortable. Does that make sense? And not what's true. Because just because we believe it doesn't necessarily make it true. Like I can say that the moon is made of cheese. I believe that the moon is made of cheese, but does it make it so? No. So whatever we believe doesn't necessarily make it true. We got to figure out what's true. Does that make sense? And so that's what I want to share with you is like what is true. And so basically what the Bible says is in, I think it's in Luke 16, there was a rich man that went to hell. And the Bible says that when he went there, he tried to get out. He wanted to get out. He asked for mercy, and God says there's a chasm fixed. And those who go there will not be able to return, right? And then people in heaven would never be able to return to hell. And so now the question is, what is true? You see what I'm saying? Now you had a view, and the Bible has a view. So if you think about your view is your view, but that don't necessarily make it true, right? So let me just give you what the Bible says about people that go to hell. Based on those standards, if you stood before God and you were guilty, there's nothing you can really do to pay God off because you're guilty, right? And so the Bible says we all deserve punishment because we sinned against a holy God. It'll be like a man that stands before a judge. He's murdered people, and the judge has to do what a good judge does. He can't let the man go free,
Most
right?
definitely.
He has to give him his appropriate punishment. If he let him go free, if that man could pay that judge off, and that judge let that murderer walk free, what kind of judge would he be?
He wouldn't be a good judge.
Be a horrible judge.
Most definitely.
Well, the Bible says we all fallen short of God's standard, and we all deserve God's punishment. It is. As a result of our sin, we always try to do something to fix our brokenness. And see if you are guilty of any of these. Instead of running back to God, what we'll do is we'll run to 4 different sources. We'll feel that brokenness and that emptiness, and the first thing we'll do is we'll try to seek maybe a sexual relationship, or some kind of relationship to help me feel better. If I can just fit in, or if my boss could treat me better, or my mom or my dad was there. We'll try to use other people to try to fix our brokenness. Does that make sense? But man, if you notice, broken people can't fix broken people. They may start out okay, but eventually it's gonna fall apart at some point because they're human. That makes sense?
Most definitely.
The next thing people try to use to fix that emptiness is they try to pursue riches and success, like money and fame, and get that extra job or buy that car, take that vacation. But even though it may be good at the front end, when it's over with, how does a person feel?
Same way they felt before.
Empty, right? So first one is relationships. The other one is riches. The other thing people try to use to repair their brokenness is they use a thing called runs. Now here's mine. Runs is something that gives you a temporary relief, but it don't give you the cure. It's like taking a pain pill, but it's not gonna cure you. Stuff like mine was pornography. Like seriously, like when I felt upset or tense or stressed out, the first thing I go do is go watch pornography.
Yeah.
And it made me feel good in the moment. But what happened when it was over?
Back feeling the same way.
Some people drink, some people smoke weed, some people shop, some people sleep, some people cut themselves, or some people have even tried to commit suicide because they're just trying to escape the pain, right? But it's like a bungee cord. You strap a bungee cord to the wall, you anchor it around your waist, and you take off walking and running. Eventually, it's gonna pull you back. And the last thing people use is they use religion. They'll actually go to church. They'll actually try to go to church and try God, and they'll try to not cuss and try not to drink and smoke. But they'll do all these things and try to pray and all these things. But as soon as they leave the church doors on Monday through Saturday, what happens?
That's the same thing.
They
same
living like,
lifestyle.
yeah, man. That makes sense? And so this is what people try to do to repair their brokenness. But there's nothing you can do to fix yourself. That's why God sends his son Jesus, right? The Bible describes him as a real life God. He was God in the human flesh. And he knew that he loved you so much that he knew that you were not going to be able to fix yourself with all those different religion, relationships, runs, or, he knew you weren't going to be able to fix yourself. So instead of you trying to be perfect to get to him, he sent perfection for you. And the Bible says that God took the wrath and the punishment that you deserve. The sin went on Jesus because he took it. And the Bible says God crushed his son. And whose fault was it? It was the sin of the world. It was us deserved to be crushed in hell. But the Bible says that God took our hell, and he's willing to give you complete forgiveness of your sin. But you must be willing to give up your life to follow him. Let's just say you were charged with murder and you stood before the judge. The judge is going to give you lethal injection. As the judge is giving you your sentence, tears start streaming down his face. Put you on that gurney. They stick the needle in your arm right before he's about to slip the liquid in your veins. He comes in to the execution chamber and he says, "Stop the execution." And the judge looks at you in your eyes and says, "I want to show you how much I love you." So he unstraps you and he takes his 2-year-old innocent son out of the stroller. And he tells you to stand next to the gurney. What's your thoughts right now?
My thoughts right now? I don't know, because the type of person I am, I want to know why you're saying that and why you're doing this.
So here's what happens. He unstraps you and tells you to stand next to the gurney. He kisses his son one last time with tears in his eyes. He straps his son in that gurney, stick the needle in his veins, and he executes his son instead of executing you. His son pays the price for your murder. The judge, with tears in his eyes, after his son is laying on that gurney, body is lifeless, he looks at you with tears in his eyes, and you have only 2 choices. You can accept what the judge has done with his son, or you can accept it, and at that moment, if you accept it, the judge embraces you and says, "Hey man, you're free to go. I can no longer punish you because I've punished my son in your place. Your life should be completely changed because of the love of the judge, that he would give his son in your place." Or you can reject it, and if you reject it, then you're only left to the wrath of the judge because he's executed his son, and he will not be pleased with your decision because he's made a way for you to walk free, but you just reject it. So if he got his hands back on you again, he will have no mercy. Now, the reason why I share that story with you is that God loved you so much that he sent his baby boy, Jesus Christ, around roughly 2,000 years ago on that cross. And the punishment you deserve, the Bible says his son took it for you. If he was the only person in the world, man, he would have took your punishment. That's how much he loved you. And so while he was on that cross, while they was beating on him and calling him names, spitting on him, with a crown of thorns, they stuck a crown of thorns 1.5 inches in his head, and they hung Jesus Christ on the cross butt naked. They humiliated him, and he could have stopped it. He could have completely stopped the execution, but he was thinking about the sin of the world, and that if he didn't die on that cross, all of us will have no chance to be right with his daddy. He's willing to pay your price. If you be willing to respond by giving your heart completely to him, instead of you going your own way and put your faith totally in Jesus, on the day of judgment, God will not charge you with hell because his son already took it for you. That's how much he loved you. But you must be willing to give up your life to follow Jesus. On the day of judgment, God will treat you as if you were perfect because Jesus already paid the fine. But if you don't follow Jesus, if God did not spare his son on that cross, he definitely won't spare you if you stand before him without his son inside of you. Does that make sense?
What's that?